Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 13 of 28 Days of Love. I hope your week has started out well, and I hope you are continuing to see these little shifts and maybe synchronicities. I know I sure am. It's incredible, just some of the things that are happening, right? And you guys know you've been experiencing it too, or some of you have anyway, and I know you've been sharing. What's interesting for me, just a little synchronicity that I'll share with you. As you know, I did get a new deck of cards last week. And so for the past few days, I've been pulling a daily card. And 3 times now, I have pulled the card that says freedom, and which is super cool because I feel that in a sense that this whole last 13 days, 12 days has been, like peeling off these layers and kind of stepping out of, this facade that we tend to create within ourselves. And I do feel a sense of freedom. So I hope I keep playing that card or cards similar to. And I hope that you're starting to see some of these changes as well. And I think what's important to remember, though, is, in my experience anyway, as we go through this sort of thing, it can be a little bit of a roller coaster, and sometimes we start to have this sense of expansion, and then we have these big aha moments where it's like, oh my gosh, everything makes so much sense. And then the next day we look at something else, and it's like, oh my gosh, none of this makes sense, right? So if you're feeling that, that's okay. I have moments like that too, and I have along the way. And it's all part of life, right? And just going through the experience of it. And so today, I want to talk about awareness and consciousness, because these are two words that have been, a big part of these videos and what we've been talking about and exploring. And I started thinking last night that maybe some of you may be really kind of wondering, well, what, is there a difference between awareness and consciousness? Are they the same thing? Are they different? What's the deal, right? And as I started to think about it, I thought, okay, yeah, I can see some clear differences and some similarities. And, I started going to my resources and realized that I really do not have a clear answer for you. So if you were hoping for that today, you're not going to get it. But what I am going to give you is just some different ideas and perhaps some perspectives of mine, as well as many links that will hopefully help you to determine, what does consciousness mean to you and what does awareness mean to you. And I think in society, I've definitely realized that words can be so deceiving and so misinterpreted, or can have so many different interpretations amongst people. And I will be including a Sadhguru video where he really, brings a lot of sense to that. And, he says, well, words are just words. They don't really mean anything. And when he talks about it and explains it, it really does make a lot of sense. But we can sometimes have different ideas or perceptions on what a word means. And if we look at consciousness, when we're looking at that from, say, a medical perspective, unconscious versus conscious, I think most of us think, okay, unconscious is, a person who is eyes closed, non-responsive, not talking, that sort of thing, whereas someone who is conscious is awake and seeing and hearing and talking and that sort of thing. But I think when we are having the discussions we are this month around consciousness, we're talking about a deeper level of consciousness, right? And it's about that being present and actually experiencing what's happening at the moment, right? Because sometimes we can not really be experiencing what's going on at times. We've all done that. Something as simple as I know I've done this where, you're driving somewhere and all of a sudden that mind, the fear mind or the ego mind or whatever mind you want to call it takes over. And all of a sudden we get to where we're going and we're thinking, oh my gosh, how did I even get here? Or you're going somewhere and you end up, somewhere else. I've done that before and you think, okay, how did I get here, right? And I think that's an example of moving through something unconsciously. Maybe one might say subconsciously, but. And then looking at awareness, I think that's sometimes can be viewed or thought of as having an understanding of what's happening around, right? And I think it was in The Power of Now that I recently read an explanation around that where it was mentioned that, you can have an awareness of a storm coming. So you kind of have an idea of what to expect, but the consciousness is actually being in that storm and experiencing, the rain on your skin or the wind in your face. So that kind of made sense to me, and I don't know how that resonates with you. But I really don't have a clear answer for you. So like I said, I'm going to just share as many resources. I've got some quotes that really made sense to me and a couple of videos. And maybe you'll feel like me in the sense that, you'll watch some of these videos, these explanations, read some of these quotes, and you might feel like, okay, this totally makes sense. And then you give it some thought and you're like, wait a minute, no, this makes no sense at all. I'm more confused. And if you feel that way, that's okay, right? It's just all part of learning and expanding. And that's what we're trying to do here. And I'm going through this just as much as you. Like I said, I've been fortunate to take a lot of different trainings and have a lot of experiences that I've learned from, but I'm still learning all of this too. And I will continue to learn this whole life thing until I leave my physical body. And my goal through this whole thing is to share with you as much as I can, to just even help you to shift, to form your own ideas, and maybe just to shift perspectives and to see things differently. I feel like sometimes that we are such a brainwashed society, and that's not, a fault of anybody. We're just raised the way our parents, were taught to raise children, and we do the same. And, we've created this world full of technology and challenges. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's almost like we've become very robotic, right? And we have become detached from ourselves. And sometimes I almost feel like as I start to, do these trainings and get into these books and bring this awareness in and start to understand things and to see them from a different perspective, I almost feel like we do need to kind of reprogram and, pull the plug and reboot and Control-Alt-Delete and just like unlearn everything we've been taught and just relearn. So I don't know if that makes any sense. And so if you were excited to log on to the video today and find some profound information, you might be disappointed. Or maybe you're curious, so I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to try to explain awareness and explain consciousness. I want you to listen to the couple of videos. I want you to read the quotes that I've put in there, and I want you to just give that some thought. And I guess we want to be careful to not put too much thought in it. I think we got to be careful. Sometimes I think rather than just trying to think and figure it out, sometimes I think the answer is to just, again, pull ourselves into that present moment and just notice, right? When we're in that space, from what I believe and understand, from that space is where we find clarity in everything. So maybe that's what the practice is coming to that space and then asking ourselves, okay, what does awareness mean to me? And what does consciousness mean? And I don't know that there is a right or wrong answer. Personally, I think there's a lot of similarities. I think maybe, you can't have one without the other. But maybe in some ways, they can be a little bit different. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. I promise you tomorrow is going to be such an exciting day. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow, and I've got some great things to talk about, some things to share with you, a gift to give you, and I'm really excited for tomorrow, but I'm going to just stay in today's presence, and I hope you will as well. Do the homework, keep having a fabulous day, and if you come to some revelation about awareness and consciousness, please share it with me so that I can add that into my resources and my practices as well. So I will see you tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. Take care.